On the field. Off the field. Sports talk. Entertainment and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 119 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shaventone.
You know, Drake, I don't like to come on the show and defend teams very often, but I'm getting kind of annoyed at all the Cleveland Brown haters out there that say they saw this coming. Yes.
No, they didn't.
Yes, some people did. Like, some people did come out and say that there will be second place in the division, second place, not third place, whenever Big Ben was healthy.
Yes.
And now that they're 2-5 or 2-6, whatever they are, everybody says they saw this coming. No, you didn't. No one talked about the Ravens at all in the offseason. No, anything at all Lamar Jackson. Big Ben was healthy then, and yet you did not see they finished third in the division.
Dude, honestly, I don't know if I had really heard anybody talk about the Ravens winning the division. I had never really heard anybody talk about the Browns finishing outside of the top two in the division with a healthy Big Ben. It was basically, the Browns, they're going to have a resurgence, or the Browns are who the Browns always are, and they will fall flat with this team. And at worst, I heard 8-8.
Yeah, exactly. And now I've heard some people today, yes, in his defense, Colin Cowherd was one of the people who said they would finish 7-9, 8-8. He got one thing right.
Yes.
Power to him. But then we got Doug Gottlieb. Every person on Cowherd's show today said they saw this coming, and no, you didn't. There's no way you saw 2-5 coming. Nobody saw 2-5 coming.
No, absolutely not. Especially because the Bengals were bad, and now they're going to get to an easier part of the schedule. Now we're going to hear all the Browns truthers come back out.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody that's now talking bad about the Browns, they're going to come back in like 4 weeks whenever the Browns are back to 500 and talk about, this Browns team is exactly who we thought they were. They just had a little bit of a hiccup at the beginning of the season.
Yep. They play the Steelers twice, the backup quarterback. They play the Bengals twice coming up. They'll be right at 500. Week 13, 14, they'll be 7-9 in the season. Everybody will be like, well, you don't know how it works. Like, no, we know how it works. You got to eat part of the schedule. But you should have been better than this the entire year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely love how people play this, opposite sides of the coin with the teams. Basically, everybody knew that the good teams were going to be good. Nobody saw the 49ers coming. Nobody saw the Browns being this bad. So, at this point of the season, nobody's really right. I mean, honestly, nobody's right about the Browns. You either thought they were going to be 500, you thought they were going to be a playoff team, you didn't think they were going to be 2-5 7 weeks in. 8 weeks in, actually. They've even got the bye week that they've already used.
Already wasted.
So, Leighton C, today we will talk with our Week 8 recap, talk a little bit about the Week 8 storylines, give our NBA season preview. It has started last week. We talked last week how really nobody knew that the NBA season was even starting. And we will talk about college football. So, start it off like we always do. Week 8, NFL, Word Association recap. Biggest winner.
Packer fans, kind of. The offense looks like it's going to work out, but the defense is very questionable, allowing that many points to Matt Moore, who earlier this season was a quarterback coach in high school.
That's crazy. He didn't even play last year. Dude, Matt Moore, every receiver that he threw the ball to was wide open. Did you notice that yesterday? Like, every single player that he threw the ball to, like, even the touchdown to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was just running wide open.
Well, NDV is even the best play call in the history of football, so it worked out for Matt Moore being on Kansas City Chiefs.
Minshew. So, he had back-to-back weeks of 50% completion percentage or lower. Then 2 weeks before Nick Foles is supposed to return, he pops off with 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, looks absolutely unstoppable. So, Gardner Minshew, in my opinion, biggest winner of Week 8. Biggest loser.
Mike McCarthy, job hopes. Going down the tubes fast.
Going fast. There's no way he gets hired back.
Middle of that, and people said he was a great football mind.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
People were saying that last year as they got fired. They're defending him.
Yes, he had Brett Favre and he had Aaron Rodgers. Good job. Biggest loser, Week 8. Us. The 49ers might actually be good.
They might be.
Surprise.
I still don't find the 49ers as juggernaut.
Baker Mayfield. 15 interceptions, last 8 games.
Whew.
That's bad. Rough. Disappointment.
Jameis Winston season.
Giants wasted their first 300-yard, 4 touchdown, 0 interception performance since 2015. They lost to the Lions. Impact injury.
J.J. Watt.
This one's a layup.
Yep.
J.J. Watt. Has to be.
That's terrible.
Dude, in the play that he got hurt on, like, J.J. Watt just, like, immediately stood up, kind of did, like, a little celebration. And, like, I didn't think he was actually really hurt. Did you see the play? He just jumped up and just kind of did, like, a little shimmy shake, ran back to the line. Like,
He messed with the pectoral a little bit. But did you see that Dr. Chow guy tweeted? I seen that happened.
yes.
He knew that's amazing. How do you know from a video that he tore a pectoral?
Dude, that guy's a beast. I follow him on Twitter because, like, if you're a football fan, if you play fantasy, like, you want to know what's wrong with your players immediately. I'm pretty sure that guy diagnoses every single play that he's ever watched within 5 seconds of watching the play. And he's right, like, 99% of the time. There was another injury this weekend where somebody, like, left the field. I think it was Aaron Jones. He's like, I expect x-rays to be negative. Like, immediately following it. And then second half, Aaron Jones comes jogging back onto the field. The guy is absolutely insane. So, WTF moment.
Freddie Kitchens, on 4th and 11, sent the punt team. It was reported after the game that he told the player on the punt team to go offsides because he said he wanted to go for it on 4th down. So he tried to go for 4th and 16 and get the best defense statistically for what I've ever seen.
What? That's real?
Yeah. So the punt team went out, can't remember the player's name, but one player went offsides. And they went for it on 4th and 16.
Did he just like his odds better?
After the game, it was rumored that he had the player go offside. He changed his mind and wanted to save the timeout and go for it on 4th and 16.
That was a good idea. Very good idea. Especially in a very rainy day in Foxborough.
Yeah, and then that next play, Baker Mayfield got destroyed by 2 Patriots.
Sounds about right. WTF moment. When you realize that in a game where there were 30-plus mile-an-hour winds between the Bills and the Eagles, the Bills, they had 12 total runs with their running backs compared to 34 passes. Good play calling.
Yeah.
Overreaction.
Sean Payton, Coach of the Year. I'm safe all year.
Texans defense without J.J. Watt may be the worst defense in the NFL of teams with one win.
One loss?
With one win or more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bengals, Miami definitely was.
Yeah. I think they might be worse now. Without J.J.
It's bad,
Watt.
dude. Yeah, because they don't have Clown either.
Yeah, no, they don't have anything at this. They have Whitney Merciless, fine player, but other than that, you really cannot hang your hat on anything with this defense.
And like he's not Bobby Wagner. Like you're not gonna be doing a lot for him.
Yeah, and Whitney Merciless was having such a good year this year because everybody's focused on J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
So now you're focused on Whitney Merciless, this Texans defense. Prepare to start everybody against this defense if you play fantasy.
Yep. So you put them up there with the Miami Dolphins of the NFL?
Yeah, I don't know if they're Dolphins bad. I don't know if they're Bengals bad. That's why I said out of the only of teams that have at least won one game this year.
It's just now definitely a team that you want to stream its starting quarterback against a fantasy football.
100%.
You got any more thoughts for us?
Yes, I actually do.
It was all a dream. I used to read Run Up magazine.
2022 NCAA recruiting news. Dakotas to ever do it. Crawford has committed to play wide receiver in college football. 3 guys in the history of college football would ever sign this guy without watching him play. Art Briles, Ed Orgeron, and Lane Kiffin. Coach O, congratulations. Your competition was nobody. Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. How about neither? 2018 NFL Draft. The year that Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Josh Allen went in the top 10, and Kyle Allen and Philip Lindsay didn't even warrant a selection. Washington Nationals. Their only Achilles heel in this series was the Astros, remembering that they have 3 Hall of Fame starting pitchers, 5 All-Star position players. Hell of an Achilles heel. What if I told you there was a team with Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, OBJ, and a number 1 overall quarterback, and they were held to 13 points or fewer 4 of their 7 games? Would you believe me that an offensive line matters? Dan Snyder, pulling the ultimate Dan Snyder move, refuses to trade Trent Brown until 24 hours until the deadline. Dan Snyder, just a tip here. I don't think that panic trading in the final hours of the deadline is where you get your largest return. I might be crazy, unless you're calling the Browns. John Morant, first week in the NBA, 18, 6, and 4. 50% shooting. I said it once and I'll say it again. Russell Westbrook without a conscience. With a conscience. No, what Russell Westbrook without a conscience meant, that's Russell Westbrook. Golden State Warriors. I can hear it again. Draymond Green and Stephen Curry were the most important pieces of the dynasty run. Kenyon Drake, biggest winner in the NFL this week without taking a single snap. And there's a new book out this week. It's titled Art of the Deal, and it was written by Dan Snyder. And those have been my thoughts. Real quick, what do you think about Dan Snyder now? Like, this was just reported within a few hours ago. Now he's open to trading Trent Brown.
Trent Williams,
yes.
I didn't see that report, but it just makes no sense.
Yes, Trent Williams, one of the best offensive linemen. You hold on to him for 8 weeks. The trade deadline's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So within 24 hours, he's now deciding he wants to trade Trent Williams.
It's like you could have got and people in the NFL are starting to realize how important offensive linemen are.
Yes.
You always know that they've been important, but now it's really starting to come out with all these quarterbacks getting hurt and seeing the decline of player back at quarterbacks. How important they are. You could have got such a haul for this guy. And you can still get a good return, but it's not going to be as good because, he just finished it next season. They only get him for 9 games. And what if he gets hurt? Well, he can't run the offense in time. You only have him for maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks. Like, I don't know. Dan Snyder is just bad.
No, Dan Snyder is bad for football.
Yeah.
Terrible for the Redskins, more importantly.
Speaking of the Redskins, did you watch the game on Thursday night?
No, I did not get to watch. I only got to watch the end of the game. Every Thursday, unless it's a really good game, I'll go back and actually watch the game. But I didn't even waste my time. I watched the end of the game.
Okay, so they brought in Dwayne Haskins. Like, why? There's no point to. They were still in the game with Bond Dwayne Haskins.
Yes.
Case Keenum wasn't hurt.
Whenever I saw Dwayne Haskins play, and the game was actually close.
Yeah, I'm watching the game, and I'm like, whoa, they have Dwayne Haskins here. Like, Case Keenum hurt? No. They pushed after halftime because they decided that was time to move on.
Yep, now it's time to move on.
But when the game is still somewhat in your grasp, you can still win the game. Good quarterback, and just once again, he looked awful because he was not prepared to start. He probably knew he was going to play in this game. Put him in on the road, a terrible environment. It's just horrible decision by a pretty bad franchise right now.
If you talk about the best ways for a quarterback to take his first snaps and run an offense, you start off with, the best scenario, week 1 of the NFL season, where you have all preseason to work. Then you talk about other situations. Yeah, we'll bring him in off the bye week. Then the next worst situation would be, I'm just going to bring him in just on a regular week, no bye week, and he's going to start that game. The absolute worst situation you can bring your quarterback in on is a Thursday night in Minnesota or in Foxborough or in the Superdome and roll him out there at halftime.
Yeah, that's
on
also
a short
bad.
week. Absolutely terrible. So wait and see. The 49ers. I don't know if we can hold off any longer on crowning them the NFC champs. I just don't know what more to say about this team at this point. Are you ready to go ahead and crown them?
So they're definitely the best team in the NFC today, October 28, 2019.
Yes.
They're the best team in the NFC. I still would up Jimmy Garoppolo, though. He had 9 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's had under 200 yards in 4 games this season. And yeah, the defense is good, but they're not playing that good of teams. Kyle Shanahan has a really good offense going, but they're just like, do you remember a whole lot of, honestly? The Vikings.
Yes.
They remind me so much of the Vikings.
You know who? I'm going to take this a step forward, and this one's going to really hit a bell for you. They're the Georgia Bulldogs of the NFL.
Yeah, okay, I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, like they have 4 guys that run the ball seamlessly. I think there's 3 guys with 300 yards, and then there's another guy who has 4 touchdowns on the season, just used for the goal line. And they don't throw the ball a lot. Like, they're number 1 in the NFL in rush attempts. They are number 31 in pass attempts. They do not want to pass the ball. And I think that if they get into a game where they actually have to pass the ball, which is going to be few and far between because they do have such a good defense, just like the Georgia Bulldogs, when they get in that spot, they're never going to win a game.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this is like, so I did math today. Garoppolo's completing 69% of his passes this season, which is a really good percentage. But
it's a great percentage.
But like you said, not throwing the ball that much. And anytime I see that kind of percentage and that few yards, I think about Joe Flacco.
Yes.
Because Joe Flacco last year in Baltimore was doing the guy who would go 9 for 10 with 80 yards passing.
Yeah.
And Kyle Shanahan, look, people today were saying on the radio about how good young coach he is. Well, no shit. You knew he'd be a great head coach. Or not a great head coach, at least a good head coach offensively. He took Matt Ryan, who's always been a really good quarterback, and won the MVP award.
Yes, almost won a Super Bowl.
And the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is throwing this little for this few yards and had 9-7 touchdown ratio has to be long just for that fact.
Do you know what quarterbacks in the NFL have a worse interception percentage than Jimmy Garoppolo? So interception percentage, it is the amount of times you throw the ball compared to the amount of interceptions you have. There are only 3 quarterbacks in the NFL that have a worse interception percentage. It is
Baker, Winston, and Donald.
That's right.
Bam.
Baker, Winston, and Darnold. There's your 3 quarterbacks, and we don't know if those guys are good at all.
No.
At all.
Yeah,
in
no.
fact, we would say this
I
year they've been
have
terrible.
a lot of faith in Donald. Still, be good still, miss a lot of the season.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can go ahead and say that this team's like the most well-rounded team. I have a ton of questions at quarterback, especially whenever you are completing 69% of your passes and you are still throwing a high clip of interceptions. I just feel like it's an offense that's designed to run itself, but Jimmy Garoppolo is going to put this team in a bad spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Jake Fromm, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The Jake Fromm scenario where you roll the guy out there in a game that he has to throw the ball, and he's going to throw a lot of interceptions in that game.
Yep.
100% will. So Kyle Allen finally looked like a human this week. He'd been playing so well, hadn't thrown an NFL interception, and goes out this week, throws 3 interceptions. Do you think it is time to bring Cam Newton back?
No, and I think what we talked about 2 to 3 weeks ago, it was going to happen. I love the idea of Cam Newton and the Panthers mutually agreeing that he was done in Carolina. Sit this year out. Because if you're Cam Newton, you don't want to play this year because you're hurt. And Drake, what are his 2 injuries?
His 2 injuries? I think it wasn't a shoulder and a foot.
Right shoulder and one of his feet.
Yes.
If you're a quarterback, you really got to have 2 feet, and you really have to have that throwing shoulder.
Yes.
And you're Cam Newton, and you're going to get traded this offseason, probably, because the cap hit's really low for you. And you need a new contract. Why do you want to play this year?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
You've missed the first so many weeks. Why not just sit the whole year out now and let people trade for you who had not seen you yet? Go a good situation like maybe Tampa Bay, possibly.
Yeah, no,
and
I
play
think that would work
Arians
well.
and look awesome and get paid. Like, if you can't want to play with Carolina, you don't want to play Cam. Because if Cam plays, gets re-injured, looks awful, you lose probably 2 rounds in a draft pick for him.
No, I absolutely agree with you there. I don't think it's time to bring Cam Newton back. Kyle Allen is going to continue to play above average football, going to continue to win you games. He just so happened to go against a very good defense, and he got put in that bad spot where, hey, we have to play catch up early because the 49ers basically just run the ball straight down our throat and have scored every single time that they've had the ball. Mm-hmm. So you put a young quarterback in a situation where he has to go in a shootout. He's not going to do well. Most NFL quarterbacks aren't going to do well in a shootout like that where the other team puts up 51 points. So I just think this was very, very bad situation for Kyle Allen this week. I don't think this is where you bring Cam Newton back, though. So the Titans are now 2-0 with Ryan Tannehill and are a game out of the wild card in the AFC. How far can this team go behind Ryan Tannehill?
Man,
they're better with Tannehill.
they are better than Tannehill.
That is not debatable.
They are better than Tannehill, but man, I just don't know. Like, the Titans style of football, they will be competitive. Any game Tannehill doesn't throw like 3 picks.
Yes.
This is how the game is going to work. Them and the Bills are so identical. And we live in a world now where the Bills and the Titans could actually be the 2 wildcard spots and go play on the road in Foxborough and Kansas City, which is hilarious to think about.
Yes.
But, like, yeah, he could get into the playoffs because they run the ball 34 times a game. He has to not fuck up on his 30 passes, 20 passes he's going to throw in a game.
Yeah, and the difference I feel like between Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota is that Mariota is not going to throw the backbreaker interception. He's just going to get you the backbreaker 3 and out. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a backbreaker 3 and out a lot. Where Ryan Tannehill's going to throw that one interception that could possibly put the nail in your coffin, but he can also win you games that Marcus Mariota can't necessarily win you. I know he's had pretty good situations the last 2 weeks against the Chargers, and then again against the Buccaneers where, Jameis Winston's just handing the ball over to the other team. But I think that this team, it's part of the confidence that they're now having with Ryan Tannehill, which the most important thing that a quarterback brings to your team is elevating other players, and everybody seems to be elevated a little bit, knowing that Ryan Tannehill is under center and has the possibility to actually throw for 300 yards and actually throw for 3 touchdowns in a game. Like, that's the difference. I think this team could honestly win a playoff game. I really do.
Well, yes, they could win a playoff game, but for that to happen, they have to win the division. So, I don't know, they can win. I mean, the AFC is so bad.
AFC's terrible.
Like, the drop-off from the Patriots to the Chiefs is huge. Then from the Chiefs, when they're all healthy, to the next team being the Texans or the Colts.
Ravens,
maybe, also huge.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
The Ravens, they could beat the Ravens, they could beat the Texans, the Colts, and those teams. So you're right. They could win a playoff game.
Yeah. Really, he just has to be Jacoby Brissett at this point. Just do the right thing.
Yes, literally any quarterback in the NFL just has to be with Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
Like, if they play at that baseline level and then so prominent, you will have such a long NFL career.
Yeah,
you will start forever.
Yeah, and it seems like too many people are trying to be the superstar quarterback whenever all you have to do is just be Jacoby Brissett. Make a few plays, win football games.
Don't turn the ball over.
Don't turn the ball over.
Turnovers kill you.
Yes. So, next up, the Bills. Suffer their second loss of the season, this time to the Eagles. I'm going to give you 3 choices. You have to choose one.
Okay.
Does this make the Bills frauds, the Eagles good, or are both these teams just mediocre?
I'm going to take the second one, the Eagles being good, but I'm going to bring it back to my analogy with Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith about how the good teams are kind of steady and the Eagles are going to fluctuate a whole lot. I think this is what it's going to be. We're going to see them play fantastic offensive football on the road against a really good defensive team like they did this past week, and then we'll see them get dismantled by a team led by Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. They are a good football team. They are not as good as everybody thought they were going into the season because, like we said last week, there are huge question marks at wide receiver and the secondary defensive linebackers, but they are a good football team. They're very well coached.
Yes, and I think the best term you could use for them is streaky.
Yes.
And a team like the Bills is going to be the game that the Eagles win every single time. Like, the Eagles are going to win that game. If they play the Bills every single week, they are going to beat the Bills almost every single week because the only way that you can beat the Eagles is if you extend the ball down the field. Mm-hmm. The Bills haven't shown a pulse to do that all season. It's ground and pound. It's run around with Josh Allen for a while. All things that play into the Eagles' hand. I think we're just looking at 2 just mediocre teams, like the Bills. If they weren't in that division, if they didn't play such a bad schedule, like this is the same schedule that makes the Patriots defense a top 10 fantasy option. Mm-hmm. Like, that is really what we're at with this Bills team. And I think the Eagles are good, but like you said, they're extremely streaky. They're going to beat teams that run the ball, and they're going to lose to teams that can pass the ball.
Yeah.
That's just as simple as that. Let's go ahead and talk about Jameis Winston now. This is crazy. Jameis Winston cannot even be fixed by Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians. Mm-hmm. And it's looking like the career may be coming to an end. Right now, he is on pace for 16 fumbles and 27 interceptions. Latency, that is 43 possible turnover for him in a 16-game season. How in the world has he been able to keep a job this long?
Okay, so I'm going to defend the decision to not bench him here because he is definitely the best thing Tampa Bay has on us for quarterback number 1.
Yes.
And number 2, going into this season, they knew they had to figure out what they had with Jameis Winston because this is a contact season. And the quarterback, the biggest thing with him, are you going to extend him or are you going to let him go? So they have to figure out what he is going to be. And I think the entire season. I do not see them benching Jameis Winston all this year. One of the best option. And like I said, they have to figure it out. And they have to make a 100% for sure answer on what they have with Jameis Winston.
I agree. And, I really think that Jameis Winston at this point of his career, I'm willing to put him in the category of Jay Cutler. But the only thing about Jay Cutler is that Jay Cutler did have the good days. And, Jameis Winston really at this point just isn't having the good days. You think back to what Jay Cutler did, whenever he was a quarterback of a team, that team would have 2 viable wide receiver options that you could roll out there in fantasy football. You look at, whenever he had Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, 2 guys that were at top 20 wide receiving options for a full season. He's doing the same exact thing with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but the only thing is that he's not having those games where he just does not turn the ball over one time. He does not have those games, and I I really feel like they're evaluating him correctly. They're using him a lot because, you have to win the war, not necessarily the battle. You have to know what you have at quarterback. But at some point, you figure out what Jameis Winston is, and he's not going to develop any further than what you have him at right now. Do you think at the end of this year, Jameis Winston will start under center for another team? Or any team, for that matter?
He will not start again next season, no.
I don't think so either.
But he'll be on rosters, for sure.
I think he's going to be that backup quarterback that you just, hope that doesn't have to come in.
Yeah, he will not be a day one starter.
No, I absolutely agree. I think his starting days are over. So next up, latency, it is time to play some darts. Each week, we play a different dart game. What do we have today?
Like you said, Halloween is in 2 days, so go and stay with the eat or delete. Halloween candy.
So the way that this will work, we will throw a dart at the dartboard. Each number on the dartboard represents something, and this week it is candy for Halloween, and we will discuss whether or not the candy on the board is worthy of being eaten or deleted. Latency, your throw. And we have a 7.
A 7 is Raisinets.
Raisinets.
Sour-coated raisins, if you know what these are.
All right, go ahead with this.
So I have had Raisinets
Healthy option.
a handful of times in my life. They're not bad. Not bad, but they're definitely the candy people give out at Halloween when they want to give their kids a healthier option. Yeah, it's still covered in chocolate.
Covered in chocolate.
I'm not a huge fan of raisins to begin with. Raisins in chocolate, like taking poo and putting whipped cream on it, basically. Still poo.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a big delete for the Raisinets.
A Raisinette is definitely a serviceable candy. I like it because it does have the sweet fruit with the chocolate. I love fruit and chocolate. Chocolate and fruit are one of the best things ever. But whenever you talk about a bag of candy for a Halloween bag, I'm going to have to say that this is a delete. Because whenever you're wanting Halloween candy, you're not necessarily looking for the option that is healthy. Or you're not really looking for fruit in your candy bag. The only kind of fruit you're looking out of there is like a Laffy Taffy that's, banana. Or a Laffy Taffy that is cherry. You want something that is actual candy. I love Raisinets. They have their place. I love chocolate-covered fruit. But for a Halloween candy bag, I have to say delete.
Yep, definitely.
Next up, my throw. And we have a 10.
10 is cookie dough bites.
Oh, this is a definite eat. This is the definite eat. I don't know anybody that hands this out for an option for Halloween, but this is an ultimate candy. It's nobody ever hands this out either, and I think this is one of the most overlooked candies out there. I really think that this is a top 5 candy in my opinion. Cookie dough, it is absolutely delicious as it is. You go ahead and dip it in chocolate, then it just gets 10 times better. I am all aboard eating cookie dough bites.
See, yeah, cookie dough bites are awesome. I love them, great. But you're right. I don't think I've seen them anywhere other than at movie theaters. And have you ever?
Dollar Generals.
Have you ever in your life had cookie dough bites where they were all one giant clump?
No. At a certain point, you grab all the scragglers at the beginning, and then at the very, very end, you're breaking them apart. And I don't know if it's just because they hit air, but it's very bizarre how they work.
It might be something to do with the chocolate melting super fast and coming out together. Yeah, I don't know
really
either.
think you could eat this in freezing temperatures, and at the very end, it would be a big
a giant clump. Yeah.
Yes,
but definitely eat. This is definitely one of those candies where my stomach hurts.
Yes. Oh yeah.
After
you eat the whole box.
Fast as hell too. Cause it's cookie dough. Who doesn't love cookie dough?
Yeah, you cannot just have one.
Cookie dough covered in chocolate.
I think it's Pringles or is it Doritos where they say good luck just having one.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
One of those chips. That's cookie dough bites. You have to eat the whole box.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Very good though.
Yeah, definite eat. Next up, latency. Your throw. And we have a 19.
19 is runts.
Runts.
I have not seen runts before yesterday in years.
I haven't seen runts in years. I can go ahead and stamp that.
I had runts last night.
Are they good?
Yes. Yes, I stole the kids' candy, and yes, they were delicious.
Huh. Runts. Would you say that's an eat?
Oh, it's definitely, yeah. Honestly.
What does a runt even look like? I can't even remember.
Runt, they're they're fruit-shaped. They're a pink one, a red one, a purple one, and they're very shiny, and you bite into them, and the inside is just solid white. It's literally just compacted sugar.
Let me look at this. A runt.
We're currently Googling pictures of runts.
I can't remember runts.
Runts.
Is it with a Z?
No, with an S.
Okay, because the only thing I could find... Okay, runts. All right, a runt. Oh, yes, dude. They're solid. They're hard.
They're great, yeah.
They're great, yes. No, dude, I haven't seen runts in forever. Yes, absolute, definitely. A runt. What a name.
I know, it's always good as notes.
You know, and it's such a deceiving name because, like, you think runt of the litter, like, it's not going to be very good, but, I mean, it's delicious. Mm-hmm. Absolutely eat runts.
Very good. For people out there, I don't know. The runs fall off a cliff or something. I feel like I see him all the time, and before yesterday, I felt like I see him ever. But yeah, no. Definite runs. This is definitely going to up my movie candy list because, one, you get a lot in a box.
Oh, yeah.
And movie candy, you eat candy fast as shit in movies. You got to have a lot. So Mike and Ike, and this is now 1-2, I think.
Yeah, definite eat on runs. All right, last throw. We have a 16.
A 16 is Hershey's with almonds.
Hershey's with almonds. I as far as a candy for my Halloween bag, Hershey's, no matter what you do with it, unless it is the cookie and cream version of the Hershey's, is a definite delete. Because what Hershey's has is what every other chocolate candy has. And you know what that is? It's chocolate. And I don't think that just a block of chocolate is good enough to make it into an actual Halloween bag and stand alone by itself. Like, if you came home and all you had was a big old bag of Hershey's chocolate bars, you'd be pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
Because it has no other substance other than just the chocolate. Mm-hmm. You said with almonds. So all it has is chocolate with almonds. Hey, give me an Almond Joy where it has the chocolate, the almonds, and the coconut. So I think that there's a lot of chocolates that do better than just the Hershey's chocolate. Mm-hmm. So delete for me.
I do agree. This is delete because of it doesn't really satisfy anything. I will say if I get I'd never buy Hershey's bar by itself ever because it's just chocolate. Not. Like, what's the point? Like Milky Way, Tia, you get more substance for the same price.
Yes.
With almonds, a different story. However, for my candy bag, Halloween candy bag, want to get once a year, definite delete.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people do chocolate better. Hershey's chocolate does taste a little different. It is like a better chocolate, but I would rather have all the other goodness that you can fit into a chocolate bar than just chocolate standing by itself.
Do you think Hershey uses the same chocolate on all the chocolate bars, or do you think they have a special mixer just for the one Hershey bar to make that one special so they can sell it for the same price with less substance?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would really think that it's just like all the same chocolate.
Yeah.
It has to.
It's making one away, but ever buy a Hershey bar.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of feel. I've never just bought a Hershey's bar by itself unless I was planning to make s'mores.
Yep. Oh, pro tip for s'mores, Reese cups.
Oh, that does sound good.
Yeah, I had those earlier this summer. Not a bad idea.
No, that's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Anytime you can add peanut butter to anything, it's definitely a step in the right direction. So, Latency, it is time for our NBA season preview. So, what I want to do here is we're going to kind of run on some hot topics here, kind of give some surprising teams, disappointing teams, give our ultimate picks for the Western Conference, Eastern Conference Finals, hand out some preseason awards. So, first up on my list, I have team that you are most excited to watch how they operate this year.
So, I put two down because it's super close. One being the Lakers, obviously. Last week, Hooper Stereo Fletcher said they have basically the best death lineup. He didn't say death lineup, I can't remember what he used. Best in the game lineup.
Finishing lineup?
Something like that, yeah. Something like that. We wouldn't add a cliche death lineup in the NBA. So we're going to see how that works. How much will LeBron run the point? Because he doesn't want to do that a lot, but will he have to? And the second one is the Warriors because they lost Kevin Durant. They lost basically the entire bench from the past 2 or 3 seasons. Clay's done for the year. Bringing D'Angelo Russell, they're off to a very bad start, obviously, but you have to think Steve Kerr, Steph Curry can figure out to make this team at least competitive going down the stretch.
Yeah, that is an actually very interesting set of teams. I kind of went off the beaten path here with a team that's just very interesting. And I think that's about as deep as I can go with giving this team a real title and just call them interesting. And that's the Atlanta Hawks. You look at this team last year, The Hawks were a little bit weird, So they went out there and all they wanted to do was just shoot 3-pointers. I mean, they were number 3 in the league in 3-pointers attempted. And you look at the buildup of this lineup, they have one starter that's older than 22 years old. So you can't imagine that their shot selection is going to get any better than what it was just last year. They have one guy on their roster that's between the ages of 26 and 43. So there's really no just savvy vets on this team. I can't remember who it is. They have like one 31-year-old. Everybody else is under 26. And then you have 43-year-old Vince Carter. So I'm going to be interested in this team if they just go out there and just hawk up threes all season. Because, what do you know about young players? They don't necessarily take the best shot selection, especially with the new age NBA, new age basketball and period. Everybody just wants to shoot 3-pointers. With this young team, I want to see how that works out. And, last year they weren't a good team. They were a pesky team, where you can beat good teams, but you're also going to lose to a lot of bad teams. And really, all they did was add 2 All-Americans onto their team with Reddish and with DeAndre Hunter. So I want to see how this team operates because realistically, I think they have a ton of talent. The only problem with the team is that, just like I said earlier, they have one guy between the ages of 26 and 43. All right, next up, most surprising team.
I picked the Warriors for this one too, just because no one knows what to expect. So I think that was going to be a surprise. Either it could be very successful or very poor.
Yeah, I was going to go with the Hawks for this again, but it's kind of boring to talk about the same team twice. But I'm going to go with the Raptors. A lot of people are thinking that this team's going to be done without Kawhi. And that you can't necessarily replace him, which Kawhi is one of those guys that is very irreplaceable in the NBA. But if you look at the talent around this team is built to be a regular season nightmare. You have Kyle Lowry, you have Fred VanVleet, you have Pascal Siakam, you have Marc Gasol, you have Serge Ibaka, you have a bunch of really, really good players, and you have guys that are elite defensively, which we've seen in times past. During the regular season, those teams with good defenses typically win a lot of games, and they can also score. I think that the Raptors, a lot of people just put a nail in their coffin saying that they're not even going to be that good of a team without Kawhi Leonard. But I think this team's going to be able to sustain a little bit what they had last year and ultimately end the season with a top 4 seed in the East. Next up, biggest disappointment.
Definitely the Rockets. I think they'll be very interesting to see. But I think a lot of interest is going to be from watching Russell Westbrook and James Harden go at each other. They will have games where they both thrive. They will have games where one is hot, one can't get going. But then there are going to be times in close games where they both want the ball in their hands. And Drake, what's a big cliche of the NBA offseason?
Who's going to take the last shot?
One ball go out.
Oh, one ball.
Hey, we were close here.
It's same premise.
Same thing, yeah. And they can't both do it, so I think that's going to be something very interesting to watch.
I think the biggest disappointment is going to be the Pelicans. A lot of people thought that this team was going to be locked in to be a playoff team. Top 8 team in the West coming into the preseason. Zion's already having issues with his legs, just like we were going to be scared of coming into the season. Now, all they did was add 3 players that the Lakers did not want to keep. You add the 76ers' 5th offensive option, and you get the odd man out of Utah with Derek Favors. I really don't know why people are so big on this team. The Pelicans, they're going to be okay. They're not going to be the worst team in the NBA, but who do they really have to rely on? I think the only guy you can really point a finger at and say, this is the guy night in, night out we can rely on is probably Drew Holiday. And we've seen how that worked in the past. Even as Drew Holiday is the second option to Anthony Davis, I think this team's going to break a lot of people's hearts that was looking for all these mixed bag of toys to come together and fit nicely. So wait and see. Western Conference Finals, who do you have playing and who do you have winning?
I have Lakers and the Clippers, and I have the Clippers winning it. Okay, look, not only did they add Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, which was already a very competitive team last season, when it comes to buyout time, I don't think Iguodala is going to get bought out or traded. And rumor has he's going to go to either the Lakers or the Clippers. If you're Iggy, do you want to go to the team that seems to be very well ran in the Clippers, or go to this functional team in the Lakers for the same amount of money?
Yes.
In the same city, at the exact same venue.
The exact same thing.
Like, if you're Iggy, you're going to go to the Clippers. To have him second half of the season, he'll be messing with that offense. Their defense getting better, more depth. They're going to be a powerhouse come basically all year, basically.
Yeah. So you have the Clippers winning?
Yes.
Okay. I actually have for the Western Conference Finals, I have the Clippers playing the Blazers. So last year, without Joseph Nurkic, this team, Nurkic averaged 15 and 10. Just about as good as you're going to find out of a 5 in the NBA. And even without him, this team was able to make it to the Western Conference Finals because if you look at the players around him, Damian Lillard, he's getting better. C.J. McCollum, he's getting better. Rodney Hood, he's getting better. Zach Collins, he could potentially get better. And then you look at adding Hassan Whiteside, Hassan Whiteside's only playing 26 minutes a game and he's averaging 14 and 11 and he's shooting 81% from the field. And that's just in a week's worth of work. I absolutely love this Blazers team, just with the makeup. We saw this team go on a little bit of a run last year, surprised a lot of people that they made it to the Western Conference Finals, and rarely in the Western Conference, you can't look around and say, these two guys mesh so good together because they played with each other so long. Mm-hmm. I think those are the only two superstars in the West that are on the top of my head right now that are both healthy, both playing, and we're going to get a full season's work out of them. So I have to like the Blazers just because I've seen it before and I know where they can go. The Clippers, obviously this team is going to win the Western Conference. And if you look at it, it's almost not even fair. Like, you're bringing in Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams off the bench. You have Patrick Beverley, who's just a lockdown point guard who's going to shut down the other team's one any given night. You have Kawhi Leonard, who can shut down anybody, score on anybody. Paul George, same could be said about him. I mean, this team's just a juggernaut, and I see the Clippers running through the West whenever it comes playoff time.
Yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals. Who are the teams, and who's the winner?
I'm going to Bucks and 76ers. I think the 76ers basically all off season. I still don't love how the loss is made up. But going through today, the East is looking pretty bad. Like, really, the Nets, Kyrie can put up points, but they don't have KD, anything like that. The Boston, how good they became a Walker. 76ers, Bucks, I'm going to go 76ers over the Bucks. Sixers going to the NBA Finals.
How perfect was it? Like, Kyrie just wants to be the guy that leads the team, and then last week they were playing against the Grizzlies. They ultimately ended up losing. Kyrie takes the last shot and gets blocked by Ja Morant.
Hey, you know what? This is what Kyrie wanted.
This is what Kyrie
he wanted to be in New York. Granted, he's on the 6th or 5th biggest sports team in New York. But this is what he wanted. He wanted to be in New York. He wanted to be the man.
Yeah. Hey, you got your wish.
You get what you want in the NBA. If you're that good and that's what you want, you can get that kind of thing. That's what he has.
Yeah, he's going to hate it whenever Kevin Durant comes back and they actually become a decent team.
And he'd be like, crap. Now Kevin Durant's better than mine.
I think I had it perfectly. Fletcher texted us. What day was that? It was their first game where they had lost, but he dropped a ton of points. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
50 points in the opener.
He's like, dude, Kyrie got exactly what he wanted. He's like, their team still loses, but he gets his 50 points.
Yep.
That's perfect for him. Eastern Conference Finals. I have the Bucks and the Celtics. I really am buying into the Bucks just basically doing exactly what they did last year. Looking like they could be the best team in the NBA. And I think something that went way under the radar this year is that they went out and got Wesley Matthews. Wesley Matthews is not a great NBA player by any stretch of the imagination. But if you look at what this Bucks team has, they have a bunch of guys that do things very, very well. And they all know their role, probably better than any other team in the NBA. And I think Wesley Matthews is going to be able to contribute to a team like that pretty quick. And for him to go to the Bucks, who are obviously a contender, I love that makeup there. And then I also have them playing the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how much worse the 76ers, or how much worse the Celtics got from last year to this year, and they got Kyrie Irving off the roster, which I really think was a lot of their problems and why they struggled late. Because Brad Stevens, it's no doubt that this guy is a very good coach. Now he gets a guy in there like Kemba Walker, who, all I can say about Kemba Walker, he's a pro. That is the definition of just referring to a guy, looking at him and saying, he's a pro. And I like to compare Kemba Walker going to the Celtics very similar to Nick Castellanos going to the Cubs last year. Mm-hmm. Like, you get a guy who's very, very good in a very, very bad situation. He's going to go to a new team in a great situation with a good coach. Like, the ceiling. What did Michael Jordan once say? The ceiling is the roof.
Yeah.
The ceiling is the roof. Like, realistically, with Kemba Walker, I think that he is going to be a huge addition at the point guard spot all around for the rest of this team. And then also in the offseason, you get a guy like Romeo Langford. I know he's young, but Brad Stevens is going to be able to choose his spots, know how to use him. Enes Kanter, he's not a guy that's going to lock down, defend anybody, but he's going to be able to score under the rim, which is, this team is going to need that going forward. I really like this Celtics team, but I don't think that they're going to be good enough to beat the Bucks in the Western Conference Finals, or in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, wait and see. You have the Clippers and the 76ers. Which team wins the NBA title?
The Clippers.
And it's not even close.
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to make it competitive because since they're all going to be very good defensively, they're all going to ground at people, but the Clippers, they're also very good defensively. They'd be good offensively, defensively. They are just the most complete team in the NBA.
Yeah, if you made a list of your top 5 defensive teams, and then you made a list of your top 5 offensive teams, I think the only team that there's going to be any transition across the board there is going to be the Clippers. The Clippers can score, the Clippers can defend, the Clippers can do absolutely everything you ask out of a basketball team. I think that the Clippers are going to go on an all-time run in this postseason, and I have them beating the Bucks and basically not even making it fun to watch. So, wait and see. Rookie of the Year, there are a lot of good options. I know Zion's going to be out for the first little bit, but who do you have?
Cool with RJ bet. I picked him in golf because Zion's injury. I have multiple $100 bets on a 10-year bet on RJ versus Zion Williamson. RJ Barrett's going to be absolute stud in this league to start right now. Not saying Zion's not going to be good, but RJ Barrett, he's just made for the NBA right now.
Yeah, and you couldn't ask for a better situation for RJ Barrett.
Right? In New York, you get all the... At the point in New York, who's going to New York have? Kevin Knox. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Knox.
Take away the shots.
No, he's going to be able to put up just as many points as he wants.
Oh, yeah, and his game is just made for the NBA right now.
I'm actually going to go with John Morant. I think the guy's just going to be the most consistent. I think RJ Barrett, a guy like him, is going to have big nights. A guy like Zion Williamson, he's going to have big nights. But whenever you look at the totality of the season, all 82 games, a guy who's going to show up every single night, put your team in a good spot to be competitive in games. I know that the Grizzlies aren't going to be great this year, but I think that he's going to go out there, he's going to average you, 18 to 20 points. He's going to get you, 6 to 8 assists, and then he's also going to pull, a handful of rebounds. Mm-hmm. So I think just over the totality of the season, the most complete player, the guy who's going to put up stats on a very consistent basis, I think John Morant fits the bill for that, and I think John Morant will win the Rookie of the Year. So, wait and see. A lot of people in different places this year, a lot of superstars in different places, but who wins the MVP of the regular season?
So I'm thinking about today, and every year it's the new toy, the shiny new one. So putting in mind Anthony Davis, he had a great year with LeBron James. I went off of him. I'm gonna go with Ben Simmons. Okay, if Ben Simmons shoots 33% from the three, he will win the MVP award. Period. He shoots 30%. He'll average close to 25 points.
He's got to shoot him first.
Have rebound and assists, yes, but he made one a game already. That's impressive. So if he can do that, he'll win the MVP. I'm going to say that he does. MVP Ben Simmons.
I'm actually going to go with Russell Westbrook as my MVP.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
And here's why. So he's now on a Rockets team that's going to make the playoffs. And whenever Russell Westbrook makes the playoffs, he's actually considered to be an MVP. I think that he's going to put up stats at a tremendous rate. Mm-hmm. I mean, he already... I don't know how many games they played. He's already averaged a triple-double again.
Yeah.
But I think that now that he's with this Rockets team who spaces the floor a ton, it's going to bring down the thought that all he can do is just run up to the three-point line and shoot it. Mm-hmm. Now, he's going to do his handful of that. But I don't think you're going to be able to ignore the guy who is playing on a team that, potentially could be a top 4 seed, which I think the Rockets will be able to squeak their way into it just because they are such an offensive powerhouse every single night, and it's hard to just run up and down with them. And the biggest kicker is that most of your superstars in the NBA take nights off. Russell Westbrook is not a guy that takes nights off. And you've seen it in times past. James Harden, he's won his MVP. Why? because Mike D'Antoni does not believe in this give the guys a night off type thing. And Russell Westbrook is not going to be pushing for that. Where you're going to have your LeBron who's going to sit his 10 games during the season. You're going to have your Kawhi Leonard who's going to sit his 15 games during the regular season. All these superstars are going to sit out, and they're going to take away from their chances to win the MVP, where you're going to have Russell Westbrook average another freaking triple-double on another team. This team happens to be, a team that's going to be competitive. And I really think it's going to come down to James Harden, Russell Westbrook, two guys that are on the same team trying to be the MVP. Russell Westbrook's going to have the assists, the rebounds, and the points to do so. All right. So any other things you want to talk about before we wrap up our NBA preview?
No, I'm just really excited for the NBA this year because it's the first time you actually see some kind of parity. And even the Clippers are dominant all season. There's so many new faces and new places. It's going to be really fun and interesting to actually watch this season.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and say, the Clippers aren't even going to make it fun because they're so good. We haven't seen this. We haven't seen the Clippers play together.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So
Paul George is still out even, and I mean, there's so many things to see and look forward to this year, and to be good year for the NBA, I feel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is by far the best year I can remember in the past probably 4 years for the NBA.
If only Kevin Durant didn't hate the regular season and had to tear his Achilles last year.
Yeah, that was...
Imagine
that would make it so much better.
If Brooklyn was good, or if Brooklyn were able to compete with top teams in the Eastern Conference, and there were 4 legitimate good teams in the East, that'd be so great.
Yeah, and it's not even if Brooklyn was good. It's just if we didn't have a top 3 player in the NBA sitting in.
Also true.
We're going to miss 2 of the top probably 25 players in the NBA for almost the entirety of the season with Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. Yeah. Such a bummer. So let's go ahead and talk about our Week 9 college football games. Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. Does this mean that the Big 12 is dead when we're talking about college football playoff?
Without help, yeah. I mean, 'cause, like we said last week, we went through the teams that are probably out of it. Like, where's the win at? They're just not one. They got to keep winning games and hope some team ahead of them loses.
Yeah, Baylor, I think, is their only option at this point. I don't know if Oklahoma's going to be able to claw and nail their way back in, because you have to have Baylor continue to win. Now, if Baylor goes out there and loses loses a game or two that they're not supposed to, and then Oklahoma beats them and then beats them again in the Big 12 championship, I don't think it's going to mean that much if Baylor continues to, if Baylor doesn't continue to just dominate teams. One problem I have, though, is that it seems like the Big 12 teams were so overvalued whenever you look at Texas and you look at Oklahoma, but yet we still have a Baylor team that's undefeated, that's already beaten K-State, that's beaten Oklahoma State, that's beaten Iowa State, and you have them ranked 12th? How? How?
We talked about this last week. The rankings don't make sense. Recency bias in these rankings is so hard. It's so harsh.
Yeah.
Because we have Georgia fell below Notre Dame last week, and the same thing happened this week with what team you just say?
Was it Baylor?
Baylor, yeah. And it's just why? Because it's just when you lose. When you lose, more important than how you win games.
Yeah,
you win the games.
I absolutely agree with that. And to continue to put Baylor outside of the top 10 is just ridiculous at this point. And you look at Minnesota, they're ranked right around where Minnesota is too. But Minnesota's beaten a lot of bad Big 10 teams. Really doesn't have any quality wins. You throw that word quality around very loosely in college football. But Baylor's beaten 3 teams that have been in the top 25 at some point this season, and a team that just beat Oklahoma. I think that if Baylor loses more than, let's say, if Baylor loses 3 or more games for the remainder of the season, the Big 12 is absolutely done.
Yeah,
done.
Oh, absolutely.
So last week we discussed whether or not the Pac-12 was basically dead in the college football race. You thought that they were. I said that there was still a possibility that Utah or Oregon could sneak back in. We have 2 Pac-12 teams that are now ranked in the top 10 of the country. Obviously Oregon and Utah. Are you wanting to confirm that the Pac-12 is again alive and well?
I will not confirm it. No. One, we have to see what happens this weekend when Georgia plays Florida. Let's see we'll have to see if that boosts Florida up or Georgia up at all. And then we have to see in 2 weeks how far the loser of LSU Alabama falls.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens out of that Florida-Georgia game. I think that it helps the SEC more if Florida wins that game, since their loss isn't as bad as what Georgia had already sustained this year, especially seeing South Carolina lose to Tennessee this week. But if you look at the makeup here, you have Oregon at 7 and Utah at 9. And these SEC teams, in the next 2 weeks, 4 of the SEC teams that are ranked above Utah have to play one another. Mm-hmm. So I think that in the next, and that's just in the next 2 weeks, I think that the Pac-12 can still find a way to make it in there. You look at the Pac-12 in totality, the Pac-12 is very bad. Utah is good. Oregon is good. If Utah, I looked at the schedules already, Oregon should be favored in every single game for the remainder of the season, pretty substantially. Utah should be favored pretty substantially in every single game for the remainder of the season, except this week against Washington. I think they're only a 4.5 point favorite. 3.5 point favorite. If they beat Washington, I am willing to say, I'm willing to stamp it, a Pac-12 team will be in the college football playoff. Will be. Because both those teams will take care of business. You're going to have a one-loss team versus a one-loss team in the Pac-12 championship, and that win will propel the other team into the college football playoff.
Yep. All Pac-12 fans should be really huge Auburn football fans right now.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because they need LSU to beat Alabama, and then they have to have Auburn beat Alabama.
Yes. If Auburn basically wins out for the remainder of the season, the Pac-12's a lock.
The Pac-12's going to very, very good chance they get in.
Yes. I kind of hope that one of these Pac-12 teams do get in, because, we saw it week 1 with Oregon. Mm-hmm. They should have beat Auburn. They should have honestly ran away with that game, up 14-3, have the ball in the red zone, fumble it. And Utah's a very good team. Utah's underrated.
Killing teams.
Yes, Utah's killing teams. And Utah, I had Utah picked to make it into the college football playoff. Their front seven. Utah's front seven is an NFL caliber front seven. Like, a lot of those guys are going to go in the draft. They have a quality quarterback. They have an NFL running back. Mm-hmm. Like, they have stuff that we rarely see out of Pac-12 teams, and I think they can compete with anybody in the country. Oregon can do the same. I just want to see one of these two teams get in, just so we see some parities, just so we don't have SEC versus SEC all across the board. And I think we're going to get that. I really do. So, college football Week 10 preview. We have Georgia taking on Florida. We'll wait and see. What's the pick?
I'm gonna go with Florida.
Me too.
This is a game. Florida. If you win out, you will get in the playoff. Period. And it starts this week. You win this week. Next 2 weeks, SEC championship game against LSU, Alabama. You win that, you are locked to be in.
Yeah, and you look at what Florida's done. Florida has a lot of good wins. I wouldn't say they're great wins, but they've beaten Auburn. Their best asset is probably a 2-touchdown loss to LSU, but they had the ball inside the LSU 10 about to score whenever the game was over. So Florida needs to win for the SEC. Auburn in Georgia needs to win for the Pac-12, basically. But I think Florida is going to take care of business. I think this is going to be a game where Georgia is going to struggle to get the run game going. And what have we seen out of Georgia the last 2 years that they struggle to get the run game going? They immediately start throwing it with Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm's never won a game that he has to throw the ball over 30 times. And I think going to the Swamp, playing this tough Florida front seven is just a recipe for disaster for a quarterback that cannot put the game on his shoulders and win. SMU at Memphis. This is number 15 versus number 24. This is a game that we never would have thought that we'd be talking about top 25 matchup this far into the season. Wait and see. SMU's undefeated. Do they get their first loss this Saturday?
I think they do get their first loss Saturday. Memphis, basically they've lost the game early in the season. They've lost the game. They're very, very, very good. SMU is also very good, but this game being at Memphis, I think, is the kicker here.
Yeah, I think that does help. But they did survive a last-second field goal last week against Tulsa. Otherwise, they would have lost that game. I like SMU to win this game. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a quarterback battle. Shane Buechele, Brady White, both of these quarterbacks are very, very talented. And I think this is kind of a freebie for us, like a game that we wouldn't have expected to be so good here now in the national spotlight. I really like this SMU team. I talked about them earlier in the season, how I really like the quarterback that they have. The guy was so talented, he actually went to Texas, and he started for Tom Herman the first season there. very highly recognized coming out of high school. Kind of in a bad spot. I think both these quarterbacks have transferred once now. But I think SMU is going to take care of business. It's hard to keep up with this SMU team. I think Memphis is going to be able to. I think this game is going to be a shootout. But ultimately, I like what SMU puts under center every single week. And really, you think about these teams. Who did Memphis lose to earlier in the season?
Temple.
Was it Temple? Temple's that team that always sneaks up and
Let me go
beats.
look. I have it right here. Temple 28-30.
20. Yeah, that sounds like a Temple win. I mean, you look at Memphis. They beat Ole Miss week 1 of the regular season, and then you have SMU, who has a quality win against TCU. Like, these teams are not slouches. Like,
No.
these teams are ranked for a reason, deservingly so. All right. So wait and see. Lock bet of the week for college football week 10.
I am going to go with SMU +6 at Memphis. I think Memphis will win this game, but looking down the schedule, Memphis has played a close game basically every single week. I have no reason to believe why they would win this game by more than 6 points, being at home against a good SMU team.
Yeah. I actually have. So last week I gave you the Penn State. Remember Penn State versus Michigan State?
Yeah.
I said there's no way that Penn State or that Michigan State's able to really score because basically anytime that they played a quality defense, I think they'd average 5 points per game.
Yeah.
Michigan State went out there and scored 7.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that kind of logic into what I'm going to go with this week. We have Michigan, who's an 18.5-point favorite against Maryland. Maryland has played 2 teams that are ranked in the top 25 this year. They played Penn State and they played Minnesota. Penn State beat them 59-0, and Minnesota beat them 52-10. They cannot score on good teams. Michigan happens to be a good team, very good defense. As long as Michigan scores 28 points, this spread's easily covered. I think they're going to do that, especially if they stick with running the ball. If every single game was raining and Michigan had to run the football over and over and over, they may still be undefeated at this point.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, like they looked that good against Notre Dame last week for you to say that. But even without rain, I think Harbaugh knows the recipe to success, and they are going to run the ball straight through this Maryland defense. Top 25 team on upset alert this week.
I'm going to go with your team, Utah. Look, like you just said, they are killing teams. Absolutely
teams.
killing them, but they're only a 3.5-point favorite on the road. That just spells sucker bet. That spells upset right there.
Yeah, Washington, though, they're quality teams.
They're tough.
They're tough. Jacob Eason is a good quarterback.
I think he's been in college for 20 years, it seems like.
Oh, yeah. No, he's been in college forever. If he gets any help on the offensive side of the ball, I do think that Washington can pull off that upset. My top 25 team on upset alert. Kansas State. They're playing Kansas this week. Dude, the Mad Hatter has Kansas firing on all cylinders. Last week, they won the game against Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Kansas is in every single game close for some weird reason. Les Miles is one of those coaches that knows, hey, my talent level compared to your talent level is not that great. But what I can do is steal a possession here, steal a possession there, rattle off 14 points we shouldn't have gotten, and win the game. Kansas State coming off the best win they've had in quite some time as a program. They play Texas next week. This is the ultimate definition of a trap game. This game's only a 5-point spread, and I think it's only a 5-point spread for a reason. You could not get Kansas State as a 5-point favorite against Kansas in any other season in the last 20. And really, I think that Kansas actually has the most talented guy on offense in this game with Puka Williams. The guy's been an absolute monster. He had like 180 yards rushing against Texas. I think they're going to be able to control the clock with Puka Williams. They're going to be able to steal enough possessions to pick up the win this week. So, game that interests you the most this week?
It's definitely that Utah-Washington game. I mean, yes, obviously Florida-Georgia has humongous implications, but that Utah-Washington game, that game I really think could be an upset, and who doesn't love the upset?
No, I agree. That's actually the game that I've written down as well. I'm not concerned about Oregon or Utah losing a game for the remainder of the season, except for this game in Washington. And, if you talk about games that have the most playoff implications, like you said, Florida, Georgia, does have huge playoff implications. Like, that winner does move up in the rankings for now. But what do we know about those teams? They're going to get beat by either LSU or Alabama in the title game. So really, those teams are basically vying. They're playing for a spot to get beat by LSU or Alabama and get left out of the playoff picture anyways. If Utah picks up this win this week, it sets Oregon or Utah up to almost lock themselves in to the college football playoff, and that's why I think this game is the most interesting of the week. So, wait and see. It is time for the shittiest take of the week. Each week we listen to a lot of sports radio. We watch a lot of sports television. What is your shittiest take of the week?
I'm going to go back to what I said at the opening of the show when everybody was talking about how they knew the Browns would be this dysfunctional team all year long. And looking back at it in the last season, there's no way anybody thought that. And they just didn't say it.
No.
Like, straight up, you did not say that. Like, yeah, 7-8 weeks later, you might have kind of hinted at the possible troubles, but you did not know for the definitive fact that it had happened. And Doug Gottlieb, whenever you say the words, we all knew what the Cleveland was, no, you didn't.
No, you did not.
Like, not everybody knew what Cleveland was going to be. You didn't know what they were going to be. Literally, no one had any idea. It was likely they were going to underachieve, yes, but no, you did not ever say it for the definitive fact.
No, and you think about it, like, the way that the Browns are losing games is not the way you would have predicted this team to lose games. Like, if I would have told you that 7 games into their season, they had scored 13 or fewer points 4 times, you would say that's crazy. There's absolutely no way. Like, you could see them losing a lot of shootouts.
Yeah.
You know, a 30-40 game where Baker Mayfield ends up throwing an interception late to lose. This is not the way you expected the Browns to lose, especially sitting there at 2-5. Absolutely terrible. I mean, even Cowherd, who was like the ultimate Baker hater, he even had this team, you know, finishing right around 500.
Yeah, he like, yeah, no, like, this team, they're 500. Could go win it in the season, but...
My shittiest take of the week will actually have to go out to Colin Cowherd this week. I love bringing him back up. So Colin Cowherd, I will give you his blazing 5 for the NFL Week 8. I have Houston -7, loss. Carolina +6, loss. Jets +6.5, loss. Colts -4.5, loss. He did have the Giants +6.5, and that spread covered by 1.5. So Colin Cowherd, after he rattles off all these, my blazing 5, it's basically unbeatable. Yes, he's had a good run throughout the season so far. But whenever you only pick 5 games, don't give us all of them. Kind of hand pick which ones you want. I don't think Cowherd actually makes these picks. Like, there's no way. 1-4 for Week 8. So good job, Colin Cowherd. I'd be interested to see what he had to say this week about his blazing 5. He probably is just going to come back on and say, you know, I was very hesitant last week with all those picks. And a guy that always dogs on backup quarterbacks and stuff, it's kind of weird that he would pick Daniel Jones, who's a backup quarterback, pick Carolina with a backup quarterback. Kind of odd to me. But he did throw in Sam Darnold, so he had some love there, and it lost. All right, wait and see. MLB chatter. The Astros have stormed back and won 3 straight games against the Nationals. Will the Astros be able to rattle off one more win and put this series away when they get home?
I didn't think they would win the World Series, yes. I will not think necessarily be in Game 6. Just watching how Verlander has thrown this whole fall postseason since his first start has been very awful. And Max Scherzer, very odd scratch yesterday with some neck issues.
Dude, that was the craziest thing ever. I know...
like 4 out of 4 first pitch, something like that.
Yeah, and then they end up having to turn to Joe Ross. Like, put Joe Ross in the worst spot ever. Like, the dude hasn't thrown since the regular season. He's like a career 4 ERA guy. Like, I thought it was very bizarre just to be like, yeah, we're basically going to put all the chips in the middle of the table, rely on Scherzer if he's healthy in Game 6 or 7, rely on Strasburg in 6 or 7, and basically try to win the World Series in Minute Maid.
Yeah, no, that is very odd, but hanging an extra day of rest, I do think they will be able to win Game 6, go 7 games, but the Astros are not going to lose 2 more games at home.
Yeah.
In the World Series, is not going to, one thing that doesn't happen.
This is going to be interesting. I hope that the Nationals are able to pull this off. I think it would be a crazy story, you know, having to pull Scherzer out of a series that's tied 2-2. And, you know, it's a smart thing to do, realistically. Like, if he's not healthy to pitch, why waste a guy like Max Scherzer?
Yeah.
if he's not 100%, and it's not an elimination game. I don't know how they've basically fallen off a cliff. Like, all the hot bats. Like, if you'd have said, yeah, the Astros won 3 games in a row, it's because the Nationals couldn't score, I would have thought, oh, it was games 1, 2, 3 after that long layoff. But they came out in game 1 and 2, looked phenomenal, looked just like the team that had just let off, winning the NLCS in a sweep form. Now, all of a sudden, this is starting to happen in game 3. I'm a little worried about the Nationals. I do think, though, Strasburg and Scherzer were able to win in Minute Maid already.
Sure.
I think that the Nationals still are able to pull this off. I really do, especially with the confidence in a guy like Juan Soto. Like, even in losses, the guy looks amazing.
Yeah, no, he's so good. And then, speaking of the Nationals, look, they're going to have Patrick Corbin in the bullpen game 6 and 7. There's no reason not to end the season. Like, you win now or you go home. Literally, the season is done. So they're going to have him in the bullpen. I don't know. It's the scary thing for me for the Nationals is if the game is tied, 7th inning, or they're down, can the bullpen keep the game close enough? Because the Astros bullpen fucking nails. Like, it's so amazing to see them blow a lead or even allow a lead to grow. It's just, can the Nationals bats find the ball? And I don't think that's going to be able to happen.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Greinke hasn't looked good in the postseason.
No, he has not.
Verlander hasn't looked good in the postseason. I think that the Nationals are going to be able to string this together enough to win both games, and I'm hoping they do. Yep. It might be a heart pick. Either way, who's going to start Game 6? Did they say it was going to be Scherzer then Strasburg?
It's going to be Scherzer and Verlander, but I don't think Game 7 has been announced, but it should be Strasburg.
Yeah, it'll be Strasburg and Greinke. Almost has to be. It'll be interesting to see. Yep. You're going to see a lot of good arms if this goes 7.
I'm expecting a whole lot of runs the first 2 innings too, because I feel like picking a good pitcher, they're willing to only get early. Like, the Nationals cannot let Verlander settle down for 2 or 3 innings.
No,
because he locks in. He's going 7, allowing 1. It's over.
If the Nationals go through the lineup one time without scoring a run, the Nationals are dead.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, the Nationals are going to be dead at that point. All right, so it is time for the Saucy 6-pack of games. First off, Texans at Jaguars. Who's winning the game?
Go the Texans. They did J.J. Watt, but the Jaguars aren't that big of a offensive anyway. I think the Texans are a big offensive team. I think they're going to score against that defense, but it'll be close.
Yeah, I actually like the Jaguars this week to beat them. We think about a few weeks ago with a healthy J.J. Watt, with a healthy Will Fuller to help extend the field. It came down to a 2-point conversion at the very end of the game for the Texans to be able to seal a win at home. Now this game's in Jacksonville. Jacksonville hasn't really had any injury hiccups where you look at the Texans, they are without their best defensive player, they're without their deep threat Will Fuller. I think it's going to be a much different game. I think the Jaguars are going to squeak this game out late on the arm of Gardner Minshew. Next up, we have Vikings at the Chiefs. Leighton C, who do you like?
I'm going with the Vikings. Mahomes might be back this week, but he's still doubtful. I don't think Matt will be able to score on this defense, and the Vikings do the one thing best in the league that Chiefs can't stop us run the ball. I think it'll be a heavy dose of Cook and Madison this week, and basically it's going to take the game into their own hands.
Yeah, I think the biggest knife in the Chiefs' heart here is that the Vikings got to play on Thursday. Mm-hmm. They got to watch this game, in live time, basically, watch Matt Moore's offense. They now have tape on the Matt Moore offense and what it's going to look like. And the Vikings defense is very, very good. I think the Chiefs, or the Vikings are going to go out there. They're going to be able to run the ball straight at this Chiefs defense, and the Chiefs aren't going to have an answer for it. I expect a huge day out of Dalvin Cook. This is one of those games where it's either a Kirk Cousins win or a Dalvin Cook win. This will be a Dalvin Cook win, and everybody's going to question Kirk Cousins, who only threw the ball 15 times.
Yep.
Next up, we have the Jets at the Dolphins. I had to throw this on here for the hilarity. Leighton C, what's the pick?
Dolphins.
Me too.
Fitzmagic. Screw it.
Yeah.
The Jets have looked awful all 1 week this season. Dolphins, they play hard. Fitz, go win the fucking game.
Yes, dude, I am all on board for Fitz winning this game.
Let's do it.
Dude, if Fitz is going to win a game, this is a game he's going to win. Dude, quarterbacks have looked great against this Jets team. Like, the Jets team is absolutely terrible. This is the game the Dolphins put their foot in the ground, win. I am excited for it. Fitzmagic, barring injury tonight on Monday night, He will go out there. He'll throw for 400 yards. It'll be all-time Fitzmagic, 3 touchdowns. Just put the nail in the coffin. Dolphins win their first game this week. Man, I'm excited for Fitzmagic.
Right.
We playing him in FanDuel?
I think we have to.
We have to.
And there's no way it's expensive.
No. Oh, no. No. You have to play him this week. Lions at the Raiders. What do we like?
The Raiders are going to win this game, but of course this game will be like a 2 or 3 point game. Stafford will throw a pick at the end.
Yeah, both these teams love to play close games. Doesn't matter who they play against. I'm going to go with the Lions. Okay. The Lions have done a lot of good stuff this year, but they've also had a few. This team's like seriously a handful of probably 4 mistakes away from being like a 1-loss team.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with the Lions. I actually like them. This is gonna be kind of like a weird throwback game though. Titans at Panthers. Who do you like?
Titans. Keep it on.
Yeah. This one's tough. This is probably the toughest game we have on the slate. Just not for like great teams. Like we had to dive into the bottom of the barrel here. Like,
we got Jets and Dolphins on.
I put the Jets and Dolphins on there just for the hilarity factor, but really it was also because we were going to be picking we were either going to pick Jets and Dolphins, which is funny, or we were going to pick like a 2-5 team versus a 3-4 team.
Yep.
So we were pickings were slim. Give me the Titans. I think Ryan Tannehill is going to keep this bus rolling. So Sunday Night Football, it's going to kind of make up for it because we've seen terrible football basically all day is what we're going to roll into a Sunday night. Patriots at Ravens. Wait and see. Ravens coming off of a bye week. Can Lamar Jackson crack the code?
I think the Ravens will lose this game, but I think there will be some dent in the Patriots' defensive armor after this week. I mean, not every team can have Lamar Jackson really find those dents, but I think there will be something shown in Patriots defense that they can't be beat on.
This is tough because everything about what I know this year tells me to pick the Patriots. So I'm going to pick the Patriots.
Yeah.
The Patriots, I mean, dude, we've seen this Ravens team get absolutely slaughtered by Baker Mayfield and the boys. And they were able to slow down the Lamar Jackson offense. Yes, they just had the big win against Seattle, but they also had 2 defensive touchdowns. They were only able to muster one offensive touchdown. I think this is another week where this Patriots defense just looks unbeatable. Because, yes, Lamar Jackson, he's quality quarterback. He can win you games. He's electric. He is absolutely electric. But electricity does not beat Bill Belichick.
No.
I mean, that's just the bones about it. Like, the guy has to go out there and just be very precise to beat this defense, and that's not Lamar Jackson's game. I expect the Patriots to win this game and kind of run away. Dude, I'm excited to see if Bill Belichick does anything different that teams haven't done to stop Lamar Jackson. Like, we've seen teams basically throw out 7 defensive backs to slow down Lamar Jackson just because he's so fast and you can't win that game with linebackers. I'm wanting to see if he does anything crazy like that.
He'll figure out something no one even thought of ever. Have, like, a defense set up with a double linebacker spy, Jenny Conlon, Tante Hightower. They'll go nickel set, those 2 linebackers, double spy. He goes this way, the other one plays coverage. And they're going to run it perfectly.
Yes.
Having never done it ever, the Patriots will run this perfectly.
Yeah, I expect maybe even a step more where, you remember whenever we talked about the Alabama versus Florida State game, and I talked about how Derwin James lined up in 12 different positions, on defense. And I expect something similar to this, where you have a Derwin James stand in the middle of the field and basically just chase Lamar Jackson for 4 straight quarters. It's going to be interesting, and I think that if Bill Belichick does something that throws a little wrinkle into Lamar Jackson getting comfortable running around the field, I think this could, honest to God, be a very, very bad thing for the Ravens offense going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's 6:59 Central Time on Monday of this week, but Billy probably already figured out what he's going to do.
No, Bill Belichick,
and he knows it's going to work.
Yeah,
he knows for a fact what he's going to do. If it's going to it will work.
Week 1 of the preseason, he knew what he was going to do in this game.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, we're going to do this, and it's going to work, and it will score 3 points all game.
Yeah. Have you seen Bill Belichick's son on the sidelines?
Doing a damn thing like him.
No. It's kind of creepy, dude. Like,
a thing like him.
He's a different breed, dude.
Yeah, they got all his mom's traits.
I want him and Deuce Gruden to fight in the center of a football field.
Deuce Gruden would probably kill him.
You don't know, dude. He's a Belichick.
That's true. He'll definitely
Master
outgame
strategist.
He'll definitely outgame plan the Gruden.
Yes, he's the secondary coach actually for the Patriots.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, on the sideline they showed them all. Like, oh my! And I was at the time. He goes, "That Belichick's son." I'm like, "Where your context clues?"
Yeah.
Yep. We figure that one out.
Oh man, Deuce Gruden, Steve Belichick. We need to book that. All right, latency. It is time to put you in the spotlight. Each week, you go out and you watch a movie. You bring it in to review. What do you have for us today?
So today I'm going to review a TV show. It's actually a Netflix show. It's called Haunted. Basically, what it is real people who I guess could be paid actors, but things that are real people. Get this in a family and talk about
They've never lied to us before,
right? And then talk about like horrifying stories of times in their life. Like one girl believes she's abducted by aliens, and now she is constantly having dreams of surgeries and procedures and stuff like that, like every night of her life. And another girl believes she lives in a house, and she would hear like a mimic would like call out voices, like mimic her roommate's voice, and they went there and tried to trap in the basement and stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, that's kind of creepy. I'm gonna watch some of that stuff, and it was creepy, but like, you know, having a real person tell you it and then they reenact it doesn't really work out. I think if they just dropped the real person bit and just had the reenactment of it, you would get the story enough, and then also have enough enjoyment out of it, because it's really disheartening whenever you have like a 2-minute dialogue of what happened, and then they show you an enactment of what happened. I feel like if you got like the premise I did at the very beginning, and then they show you the 20 or 30 minute movie or show that it is, it would be better, because it gives you one monologue to follow instead of following the present time of the person and the story that they're telling you is true.
That sounds weird.
It is really weird. It's
so is it just
weird.
like a one-time show, or is it like something that's going to continue to come on just like ever so often?
This is the second season of it, so they have 2 seasons now. So I guess it'd be a yearly thing. But the shows, they don't follow each other at all. They're all about 20 to 30 minutes long, like I said. And I don't know, man. It's just like everyone opens up with a person telling you what it is, then the theme song, then they bring you in and they tell you pieces of the story, and then they reenact that part of the story with actors. And that's a very odd dynamic I've never seen before, and I don't think it works.
Huh.
Like I said, like if you just told me that, like if you gave me like a 2 or 3 minute monologue at the beginning of her telling her friends what happened, and then you just show the entire reenactment from beginning to end instead of breaking it up into different like segments of the reenactment, like this happened and then this happened. As you tell what was going on, you show it all at once.
That's interesting.
And then at the very end, they talk about it a little bit, but don't go from like I moved into the house and I started hearing voices. And then one night my boyfriend stayed over and he heard the voices. If they put all that together instead of breaking it up into like different series of parts, it would have float a whole lot better.
So it doesn't just follow one train of thought; it just throws a ton at you.
Yeah, and it got kind of boring because you get like really into the suspense and like the terror of it all, and then boom, cuts it off back to the people in present tense. It's like no, like. You did a good job of terrifying the people, getting my heart rate going, but then you take it off, like, oh, look, there they are, they're fine.
That's weird. Well, how many dips would you give this?
I don't know, like 1.6, 1.7.
I think it sounds a lot cooler than what it probably actually is.
It did. I'm actually I'm pretty sure, this looks really interesting. Look this one out. But, you know, if you watch it on Netflix, it's only 60 or so seasons, 20 minutes long, you finish it in like 3 days. Let's check it out.
All right. So any bold predictions before we wrap this show up?
I want to say the Warriors get 2 or 3 wins in a row this week. Kind of maybe know that they're still here. Maybe they can get to 5 in a row.
My bold prediction is that the Nationals will win the World Series. I think it's going to be obviously an uphill battle at this point. You got to win 2 games in Minute Maid. You're probably going to see Garrett Cole again, maybe out of the bullpen in Game 7. It's going to have a lot of stuff thrown at you, but I think this Nationals team is like a team of destiny now at this point. Bryce Harper will bring the title back to DC like he promised at the beginning of the season. And on that note, for Drake, for Latency Dippers, as always, stay saucy.